All right, everybody, how you doing? This is Dr. Phil. We're back for another season of CalChiro Live. Thank you so much for joining us again this year in an effort to bring our community together better or more all the time. Looking forward to this season's episodes and guests and all of those kind of things. It should be a lot of fun. And as you know, we're here to give away some money, which is probably one of the most fun things that we do on the CalChiro Live show. We'll have to see how many people show up today because it's only $300. And I say that tongue in cheek because you would think that $300 would bring a lot of people out, but usually they want like $700 or $800 before it's really worth their time and that kind of thing. But I see Robbie Butler here, so that's awesome. Thanks, Robbie, for being here. Before we get kicked off with our guests, I know you saw, I'm really excited about our guests today. These folks have been doing things in chiropractic for a long time to help people be successful. And that's one of the big things that we want to do here at CalChiro is support you in whatever fashion or form that you need, whether that's legislation, business help, advocacy, all of those kind of things. We have so many resources and so many opportunities to network yourself within this community. I really want to shed some light on that for people, and hopefully this will be the medium by which we can do that even more so in the coming year. But I wanted to mention that we have our upcoming symposium coming up. It's in Monterey, adjacent to the downtown area. If you haven't been to Monterey, it's an incredible venue. It's an incredible location. Tiffany's bringing up the screen for us right now. She's sharing. If you go to the CalChiro homepage, you will see the symposium. Can we minimize? Okay, great. Scroll that up just a little bit. We've got a room block that's available. The speaker lineup's incredible. Sean Drake's going to be our keynote speaker, so it's got some sports orientation to it. For those of you guys that are familiar with our sports symposium that we've had in the past, we have a lot of sports-related speakers. There's also a work comp track if anybody's looking for work comp certification, all of those kind of things. So it should be incredible. It's got one of my friends, Bo Pierce, that's going to be on the speaker list this year. Really excited to have Bo and his Chiropractic Business Club group joining us. If you're not familiar with Bo, go check it out. Check out the Chiropractic Business Club. This guy's got over 4,500 people in his group that he communicates with and gets feedback from all the time. So again, this is going to be an outstanding event, just like we've had in the past. The location's beautiful. A lot of fun stuff. Looking at getting a boat together maybe on Sunday for everybody to hang out and do some fun stuff afterwards. So message me or let me know, hit me up if you got questions or need connections. I also wanted to just bring to light first before we get going with our speaker. We've got some new tier structures at the CalChiro organization. So if you're looking at talking to your friends about opportunities to become members, things of that nature, you can check out the new tier structures. And that's some really exciting stuff that we've got going on. But without further delay, I wanted to make sure we get going on our speakers today. So I'm going to invite them in. Let's bring on Ms. Holly Jensen and Dr. Miles Bodzin. Hopefully you can see them now. Are you guys with us?
Hello.
Hello. I was hoping that we could have let me see if I can go speaker and speaker here now.
There we go. I see us.
Now
I was going to say, I didn't get to see Holly. There you go.
Let's see. There we go. I like that even better.
Hey.
So excited. If you guys haven't met Holly and Miles, well, mostly Holly's just full of energy. So that's the super fun part. Miles just comes along for the ride with all of the information and all of that kind of stuff. But I know he's happy to do that. But I wanted to welcome Holly and Miles. I'll probably do that again.
You call it Molly for short.
Molly. That's our like Brangelina name, right?
But why don't you just introduce yourselves real quickly? If you guys don't know Molly and Hiles, they're from Cash Practice. But please tell us just a quick snippet about you guys and who you are if you're not familiar.
So, Dr. Bodzin, you start.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. I'm Dr. Miles Bodzin. Some of you may know me. I lived in San Diego for, close to 40 years practicing in San Diego. I don't live there anymore, but we were there, and Holly was there in San Diego as well. So maybe we've met. If I don't recognize some of the names, but maybe we have. I now live in Tennessee. We run a company called Cash Practice. If you haven't heard of us, I don't know where you've been because we've been here probably about 20 some odd years. Holly and I have been working together for well over 20 years now. And Holly was my CA in my practice for a good number of years, and office manager, and now serves as our chief operations officer here at Cash Practice. And we're excited to be sharing and talking. It's great to talk to CalChiro. I'll jokingly say, they say the definition of an expert is someone who has PowerPoint slides, who's from another area. So now that I'm not in California anymore, I must be an expert speaking to CalChiro.
Yeah. Excellent.
But nonetheless, we're excited to share with you guys today.
Awesome. How about you, Holly?
Yes. So I've had a fantastic career. As Dr. Bodzin said, I started out as his chiropractic assistant, moved my way up the ladder. And at one point in time, Dr. Bodzin's always been really good about educating his team outside of beyond himself. So whether it's us reading a book together, like a book club, or us going to seminars like CalChiro together, it really started a fire in my belly that made me realize chiropractic is my career path. And at one point I wanted to become a chiropractor, and Dr. Bodzin's like, no, you can't leave me. So here I am working in another capacity, but I really absolutely enjoy it because of the mission that we have at Cash Practice. I'm able to serve at another level. So yeah, I think this will be my 22nd year of Dr. Bodzin and I working together. So very excited about that, and excited to share with our audience some of these things related to a cash-based practice.
I think that's one of the things I love about you most is that, over my career, I've encountered people that not necessarily chiropractors by education, but, they share the same mission and vision. And so in their heart of hearts, I know that we're on the same mission and vision. And I feel that from you all the time when I'm around you. So
thank you.
If you guys didn't join us in Palm Springs, Dr. Bodzin was one of our speakers there. The information that he delivered was absolutely essential, or just critical, I think. If you're running cash practice, just in general, if you're running any kind of practice, I think it's helpful. It was helpful. He's going to be one of our speakers again this year. So make sure you don't miss that piece of information. He's coming to San Jose, where I'm at, to speak to our group. I know they'll be in the area. If any other groups want to get them on the speaker list, let me know and I can coordinate that for you. But I'm telling you guys, this information, this will change your practice. This will change your life. We're going to jump into it a little bit more. I even use his material in my class still. I know Palmer Pete reached out to you many years ago before I took over the class that he was teaching. And we still utilize that as part of our curriculum, at Life West, because everybody has questions about those kinds.
Awesome.
I'll add, Dr. Dieter, I was invited to be your CA speaker in the fall as well.
Oh,
so
my
if
gosh.
you're looking to have, for me to kind of inspire your team and teach them some things to help your practice better thrive, bring your team this fall. So
and you're
I
talking
apologize for that oversight. I didn't know.
We're talking about the convention that's at Disneyland, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't started promoting that one yet. I got to just promote the Monterey event first.
Yeah.
And that's in February 28th to March 1st. So that's coming up around the corner. If you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, I highly recommend that. But let's dive into the content, because I wanted to bring some value to our listeners today. So let's just touch on the tips or thoughts that you have about transitioning, if you wanted to, into a cash practice. I guess, first of all, some of that content.
Sure. Holly, do you want me to take that?
No, yeah, take that. And I think we should first talk about, what is a cash-based practice? What is that?
Yeah, this question comes up a lot. So when we talk about a quote-unquote cash practice, here I run a company called Cash Practice. And let me just clarify, there really isn't anything what we would call a true 100% cash practice, even a practice that doesn't accept any insurance whatsoever. And the doctor's like, well, I don't do any PI, I don't do any work comp, I don't accept insurance. I think we could all agree that just because you don't accept insurance doesn't mean your patients don't have insurance.
Right.
And if you don't accept it, they still may want to take a super bill or something and submit it to insurance and get reimbursed. And I bring this up because many times doctors, when we ask them, why do you even want to go this route? Sometimes they bring up the subject of, well, I don't want to deal with the headaches of insurance, which we get. But the reality is that if patients are submitting insurance claims, even if you're not, taking assignment of benefits, you're still held to the same requirements of coding and documentation and all the same things you'd be doing even if you were. So when we talk about being a cash-based practice, what we're really saying is that you want to have predominantly your practice being primarily supported by the over-the-counter payments, the cash coming in versus insurance money. It doesn't necessarily mean you're giving up insurance. In fact, in my own personal practice, my practice always ran about 80% cash, 20% insurance. When you looked at the revenue sources, where was the money coming from? It was mostly coming from the patients out of pocket versus from the insurance carriers.
Right.
But there was still some money coming from insurance because we chose to continue participating with them. So when we talk about that, what is a cash-based practice, or what is it? There's a spectrum or a pendulum, you want to think of, like, or if you want to think about that, you could be, it's a percentage. Like, are you 100% cash and no insurance? Are you 50-50? Are you 70-40 or 70-30? Or, where are you on that spectrum of where you want to be cash collection? We believe that most practices that go this route, they don't give up insurance. They end up doing this where they transition, where they collect more and more cash to the point where the insurance becomes a smaller and smaller percentage of their revenue. And quite frankly, you get to a place, if you're doing this and you do it properly, where eventually you don't really care about the insurance anymore, because it makes up such a small part of the revenue your practice is generating. So it's a transition process. There's no flipping a switch to say, tomorrow I'm going to be a cash-based practice and I'm turning off everything. If you're involved in insurance, there's a process we take a practice through, or a process you go through, I should say, that will help you migrate, I guess you would say, almost like a treatment plan. You're going from relief to correction to wellness. Think of it that way. You're migrating from heavy insurance to more and more cash, to eventually get to this place where the cash is the insurance is such a small portion. So I think that answers the question.
Yeah, I think that's one of the greatest things, or the biggest things I remember from when I originally heard you speak that I learned, is that even when you aren't taking insurance patients, you're still held to the same standards, Yeah,
you are. And it's not just for insurance. I mean, our license, the fact that we're licensed, we're held a certain, like we have certain responsibilities just as a license holder, right? And so you're not alleviated of those responsibilities just because you choose not to have insurance in your practice, or you choose not to work with insurance. You're still held to the same levels of accountability.
Did you have anything that you wanted to add in that regard, Holly?
Yeah, I'll add, when it comes to any type of practice, cash-based and heavy insurance, PI practice, no matter what you do have to have systems in place.
Oh, I love it.
Systems create habits, and habits drive outcomes. And the outcomes that we want to see in practice are the clinical outcomes from our patients, the outcomes of having a healthy, financially healthy practice, having a rock star team, like having good marketing. Like, it's a lot of things, but you have to have systems in place. You can't just wing it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think we can end the broadcast now, because everybody got their membership dollars worth right there with that little tidbit. So,
well, I'll share with you real quick. I'll share with you. Holly brings up systems. One of the first books, Holly brought up like book clubs and stuff. When Holly was probably 6 months working with me or so, many, many years ago, I gave Holly a book to read, and the book was The E-Myth, right? So we all heard, most of you probably heard of The E-Myth, and she read it. And from day one of her reading that, and I'd long been doing this stuff, you're systematizing things. You're creating an environment where things run, and it's not people dependent. Now, people run those systems, they're doing the things, but ultimately you have a system in place that you're plugging the right people into. So yeah,
Dr. Bodzin, I want to expand on that.
Yeah.
It's not just, here's our standard operating procedures and here's this book and we're going to do it. It's really, you've always been really good at explaining the why, the big why. This is why we have special time set aside for new patients, report of findings, and re-exams. This is why we are doing this type of market. This is the why. So when your team understands the why behind things, they can really help support and launch you to the next level.
Can you give an example of that, Holly? Because that's super important, I think, in terms of structuring your day, or, those kind of things.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So I'll just use that, like scheduling for one. When you just have open treatment time and patients can come in and out whenever you want, you're really kind of tied to the practice, right? And the team, they don't have downtime to focus on projects. Doctor doesn't have time to focus on notes or all of the other things that are going on. Yeah. So you really need to be strategic. And a lot of what we've done well working together as a team is always understanding the why and having our team being able to communicate back complex things with clarity, because then they come across confident and they understand the task at hand and they understand the systems that are being used because they know what the outcome's going to be. And it really just makes a really nice, cohesive, joyful work environment, which is definitely why we've been working together for so long. Now, do I want to strangle him sometimes? Absolutely.
Yeah, like daily. I want to add to something like now.
Sure.
Holly just said like the why behind it. So you asked, let me give you a very clear, specific example of this. We know in a cash-based practice, keeping it around that subject matter, the way you communicate with people is vastly different than the way you do it in an insurance-based practice. The way you go about in a day one, day two, the enrollment process, everything that you do from the standpoint of taking care of that patient is going to be structured very differently than you do in a heavily insurance-based practice. You can't speak to patients the same way you speak to them when you're dealing with insurance. Okay. It's just a different, we have to just kind of accept that it's a very different model. In order to accomplish that, in order to actually do that, where I say, I need to be able to have laser focused attention on my patient during a day one, during a day two, I want to be able to do a proper report of findings. That requires me being able to have dedicated, uninterrupted time. So that's the why we do it. We structure our time. It's one of the whys. Like I need to know that new patients are seen during these windows of time, and I'm not going to be interrupted having to jump out of the room and go adjust people and be rushed and all that stuff. I need to be able to focus on those people to do a good job, because if I'm not, then I'm never going to have a successful cash-based practice. It's a requirement. In fact, we often say that one of the hallmarks of a really successful cash-based practice is one that is focused on patient retention, where you're having patients follow through with treatment plans, get great clinical outcomes, transition to a lifetime of wellness care. That's kind of the mindset behind that type of practice. Well, I've never seen a practice been able to successfully do that if they're not extremely good at their day one, day two, their conversion process. We often say that to have really good retention and clinical outcomes, you must have good conversion. Let me say it this way. We've seen practices have good conversion and also have good retention, but we've never seen a practice with good retention that did not have good conversions.
Yeah.
That it's a good retention practice, a good outcome long-term care practice must have a good day one, day two conversion process. And that requires you to be organized with your time. So me saying that hopefully drives the point of it's not just we want to have an organized schedule for the fun of it, or just because it gives us freedom and we're tied to it. There's a lot of reasons for it, but that's the driving force behind it. That's the driving why behind we want to do that, so that we're not running around with our hair on fire.
Yeah, I love that, because I've always been told retention is a hell of a lot less costly than recruitment, or time consuming than patient recruitment. And so if you had some thoughts or just like some tips, if somebody was thinking about transitioning into this more, let's call it a retention-based practice, more so than a cash practice,
For sure.
What would be just a couple of tips? Like, hey, I'm thinking about transitioning into a more retention-based practice. What would be the first things you'd do?
Okay. Can I take this, Holly?
Yeah, I want to speak to the team side of the thing, please.
Okay, so let me just share this. There are 4 key components, and I will, when I speak live at your San Jose event, I'll talk more about this. And when I'm at the convention, I'll really dive into this, but I'll just kind of touch on this. When it comes to retention, guys, we've all been brainwashed in one thing. And I say as chiropractors, we've been brainwashed. We've been brainwashed that you've probably heard this statement. If patients knew what I knew, they would do what I do. We've all been brainwashed that patients need to be educated on the benefits of chiropractic. And through that education, that's what will convince them to listen to us and follow us to the ends of the earth. We've all been taught that. I was taught that. I applied that until one day I woke up and realized I was lied to, because I had plenty of patients who learned what I taught, knew what I knew, and still did not do what I do.
Yeah.
You all have patients right now that know they should be eating better and they don't. You probably know people who should be exercising and they know they should be exercising and they don't. Like, they have the knowledge. So I want you to just kind of bite into the apple of that, or by accept the idea that just because people have the knowledge around something doesn't mean they're going to follow it. And what we've identified, there are 4 key things that are required for people to follow through and listen to you and follow you and complete treatment plans. And they all revolve really around your business model. much less about your educational model. So number one is you must forecast your care. You must let people know right up front, what is the plan of care? Is it 6 months? Is it 4 months? Is it 3 months? Is it a year? Whatever you believe they need, you must do that. You must tell them how often they're coming in. You must tell them what their financial responsibilities. They must have a forecast. That's number one. If you don't do that, you will never have retention. Number two.
I'm writing these down. I want to make sure, you know.
Yeah. Number two, you must apply a business model that facilitates retention. And the only business model we've seen that facilitates retention is if your patients are on a monthly auto debit. You can look at every kind of business model out there for collecting money, and we don't have the time to go into all the details here. I'm just giving you kind of the Cliff Note version of this. If you're not presenting your care where you're giving people a chance to be on a monthly payment, you're sabotaging their ability to stick through care. So requirement number two is your business model must be where I'm presenting care to patients and then giving them the opportunity to be on a monthly payment. If you want to learn more about those things, again, attend one of the workshops or one week do the convention. Number three, the third thing you must do with patients for retention is you must give people feedback so they know they're making progress. This is your clinical feedback, and you must do it in a way that's intuitive to your patients. So we like to use report cards with patients because they're intuitive. I could tell my patient, hey, John, you went from a D to a C to a B. Over time, I'm able to communicate my doctor language that I understand into a language they understand, which is letter grades. It's a simple example of doing this. So I must give my patient feedback so they know they still need care, even though they're feeling better. And you know they need 3 or 4 months of corrective care still. They understand why they're getting it. And the best way to communicate that we found is by giving feedback with a report card. Letter grades is a simple way of doing that. I'm giving you some strategy there as well. And number four, and last but not least, that is our patient education efforts. That is the portion where we're communicating with patients. But what's key here is it's not so much the education. Please make note of this. It's the frequency of your contacting them. What's key is that you are frequently in front of them. Text, email, social media, all of the stuff you do. The frequency is the most important thing. So when it comes to retaining your patients, it's those 4 things you must focus on. So when you ask, what are the tips? Those are the 4 tips. The question is, what do you do now? Well, in order to do this stuff, you need to get really excellent at your day 1, day 2, so that you are forecasting your care and getting patients to commit to those things, to commit to a care plan. Once they commit to a care plan, then you automate their payments, you give them feedback, you stay in frequent contact, you do those 3 other things once they've committed to that care plan. That's really, in a summary, that's the model that we have seen thousands of times play out now, where it leads to a practice that grows year after year after year. In my own personal practice, when I retired in 2011, my patient visit average, that's a PVA, everybody's used to that stat. Right. Our PVA was just over 300 visits.
Oh my goodness.
That's extremely high. And the reason it was so high is because with hundreds of people who are on these monthly auto debits or on wellness care that I took care of for years and years and years and years and years on what I like to refer to as doctor-directed care. Every one of the doctors listening right now, you all have patients who've been with you forever. I know you have. You have people who've been with you. They've been with you since you opened. I'm not referring to the person who just comes to you when they feel like it. That's patient-directed care. I'm referring to, you said to Mary, you need to be here twice a month, and she's been doing that for 10 years now because that's what you told her. That's what I refer to as doctor-directed care. If your practice, when we see a really humming practice, their practice is full of those people. Doctor-directed wellness care plans. They're on a monthly payment. It goes on forever and ever and ever, and they're just continuing to come in to see you on a wellness basis.
I love that.
That's the model we're referring to here. And the beauty of this, and I'll pause here in just a second here. The beauty of this is that when a practice plugs the holes in the losses of patients, where they remove the reasons people leave, we see case after case of practices where every year they're collecting more money than the previous year, that they don't plateau. They've been doing this 10 years. And when they started with us 10 years ago, they were doing $200,000 a year. And today they're doing $2 million a year. Why are they doing $2 million a year? Because they keep adding patients to the practice. But more importantly, they're not losing people on the back end.
That'll help you pay some student loans right there.
Absolutely. So when we talk about this being life-changing, it literally is life-changing, that it's not just, hey, there's some cool ideas to do. It's a model that you run your practice under that ultimately leads to extraordinarily high retention. And you mentioned the cost of acquisition of new people versus keeping people. It's a much more profitable practice.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say before I shut up here, and that is, it's a more valuable practice too. For any of you who are looking to build a practice that you're going to one day exit and sell, the practice that is built on a recurring revenue model, a subscription model, if you want to think of it that way,
yeah,
the valuation of that practice is 3 or 4 times greater than a practice that collects the same money that is not recurring revenue. So if you compare 2 practices that are both doing, let's say, $500,000 a year, let's just make up the numbers, and they're very similar in nature, overhead-wise, revenue-wise, except one of them is all money that is based on new patients showing up, always getting new people in the door to generate that revenue, versus another practice that is lots of recurring revenue that's just automated. That recurring revenue practice is going to be worth 3 to 4 times the value of the other practice when it comes to selling that practice. So there's a lot of reasons for doing this, but I just throw a lot at you. You asked for the tips. Those are the 4 tips. But
I love it.
I just want to give you the why behind it all.
Holly, did you want to add from a team aspect?
I do, yeah. So there's a stat I want to share with our audience, and that is the average CA only works with their doctor for 18 months. And to me, that is so sad. And when I heard that stat, I'm like, what is different about me and the other CAs I know? By the way, we have other CAs that used to work in the practice who also work for Cash Practice, who have been with us for 20 years, 17 years, 12 years. So I'm not a unicorn. I mean, I play one on TV, but but here's the thing is when you have these systems in place and your team knows the why, practice is fun. Practice is so fun. And we can celebrate those wins together. We can celebrate growing the practice. We can celebrate patient outcomes because it's very structured, and it's not like military structured. It's just like, this is why we do what we do, and this is how we do it. And that's really how those 4 tips, which we happen to have systems for at Cash Practice to help you execute what we call the four F's of patient retention. They all start with an F. I'm not sure if the audience caught that. Those 4 tips: frequent contact, feedback that's intuitive, forecasting care, and frictionless payments. Those are the 4 F's. And so when your team understands that and they can execute it, and you have systems in place to help automate a lot of these things, practice is fun. And then you end up with a team who works alongside you, not for you, not with you. They work alongside you. Practice is fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that alongside you concept. That's so key. And I really, the content, the tips that you just gave us I think are critical, because, one of the things I tell my students all the time is you've got to figure out how to capitalize on the investment that you've made yourself. If you're a new practitioner, we're really making an effort to support new practitioners. Robbie Butler, who's on this call, he's created the New Practitioner Task Force. We're giving new practitioners free membership, or at least continued membership from their student days forward, because we want to help those folks be successful, because that's how we elevate this profession. And so absolutely. I think today's content was so crucial to that. I need like an AI note taker or something like that, so I can post the cliff notes and that kind of thing. So, but like you said, you're going to be one of our speakers at the fall conference in Disneyland. That's Labor Day weekend. That's a little down the road. Well, I'm sure we'll be having more events like this before that. But you're also going to be in Santa Clara. If any of you are on the Santa Clara district, in the Santa Clara district, come out and see Miles. I think it's February 4th, correct, Miles?
5th.
I think so. February 5th.
February 5th.
At the Spaghetti Factory.
Perfect. Awesome. Tell us quickly, how do people connect with you if they have questions or want to learn more?
I'll take this, Dr. Bodzin. Yeah. So we'd love to connect with you and see how we can help you implement those 4 F's in your practice, help you systematize the things that you may already be doing, and help you have more joy in practice. And of course, convert more patients, retain more patients, and increase your revenue. You could visit cashpractice.com/success. cashpractice.com/success. And we'll be happy on that page. You could book a call with a business growth specialist who will ask you some questions and let you know if we're a right fit for you, and explore any opportunities and give you a demo of our software.
I want to add one thing. Thank you for that, Holly.
people can click on it in the chat as well.
I was just going to add one thing, and that is some of you may know of us as and you've heard of us from the standpoint of the world of payment processing because of our payment system. We integrate with many of the EHRs that are out there. So if you're using, Chiro Touch or Chiro HD or Platinum or any of those kind of EHRs, we're integrated with them. So from the standpoint, some of you might be going, how do we use you? Again, reach out, go to that link, book a call, speak with one of our experts. They can answer your questions and show you. But ultimately, we help practices solve those 4 things. That's ultimately what we do as a software, as our company, is we help you implement those 4 ideas. And ultimately, that's what leads to that retention and growth.
And I see the link was posted in the chat. So thank you so much, CalChiro, for doing that.
All right, you guys, this was fun. I really enjoyed it. Now the real fun's going to start. Hopefully you guys will stick around with us to give some money away.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to bring out the wheel to spin the wheel to see if we've got any of our members here that are going to win $300 today. Tiffany, can you share the wheel? Let's bring the wheel up.
And I wore green to bring good luck. So if you're wearing green today as well, you might have it.
Now, remember, everybody, when we spin the wheel, you have to be a member. You have to be on this broadcast. You have to respond in the chat within 30 seconds that you are here with us today, and you will collect your $300. So we have about 32 listeners right now, which is awesome for our kickoff. I think the people that are here got more than their money's worth today. So, and hopefully some folks will win some money too. But if we don't have a winner this week, we'll ramp it up to 400 next week, and we'll go from there. So, all right, Tiffany, let's spin the wheel. The first name coming out. Brian Reese, you are our first winner. You have 30 seconds. I'm watching the clock up in here.
Come on, Brian.
Yeah, let's go, Brian. Just a reminder about our Monterey Seaside Conference coming up February 28th to March 1st. Really hope you guys can join us. Great venue, great speaker lineup. We're going to have a lot of fun. Like I said, the aquarium's out there, some awesome restaurants, all of those kind of things. If you're a brewery fan, they have Alvarado Street right there. You can get out on a boat, all those kind of things. Brian, you have 5 seconds. So hopefully if Brian's here, somebody's letting him know. Maybe people are texting him. But Brian, that is your time. So, all right, let's do name number 2. Name number 2. Raphael, we didn't see it spin that time, but Raphael Sandoval, you have 30 seconds to claim your prize. I see Scott Swanson's advocating or campaigning for multiple entries into the digital spinning of the wheel here. Sorry, Scott. We'll have to take that under advisement for season 3, but it's a possibility. You never know. I saw somebody saying, hey, sorry, non-member. So if you're a non-member, check out that CalChiro page. We got those no-tiered memberships for you and some great opportunities to join our community. So you have 5 seconds, Raphael, 5 seconds, but it doesn't look like you're here today to collect your prize. So we're going to spin one more name today. Remember, next week we will spin 4 names if there's no winner, and the prize will go up to 400. But Tiffany, go ahead and let's spin it up.
This is fun. Come on.
I know. All right. Gary Kraft, you have 30 seconds to come and claim your prize.
Come on, Gary.
Come on, Gary. Let's do this. I want to thank you guys once again so much for being on here. Like I said, I continue to learn more and more all the time. I think your content is so valuable. Huge advocate of what you do for the profession and all the energy and enthusiasm that you bring to everything that you do. So, Gary, you have 5 seconds to join us. It doesn't look like you're with us, but thank you, everyone, for being on the call today or on the broadcast. Next week, we'll try to give away $400. We'll spin 4 names. Check out our new website, our new tiered memberships. Check out our Seaside Conference. Thank you so much for being with us today, and see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. everybody.
All right,
Thanks
take
for
care, guys.
having us on, Dr. Dieter and CalChiro. We appreciate
Yeah,
everything that you guys do.
loved it.